everyone. Kip Snow here, Community College of Baltimore County, and we've got Mike. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Pretty good.
All
How about
right,
yourself?
I'm doing all right. We have a whole bunch of stuff to cover. You want to
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and start us off?
Yeah. So just to introduce myself again, Mike Singer, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. So podcast number 4, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Moving right along.
Yeah, I know, right? Um,
We've
so
got some. We got a lot of stuff that's happened over the past couple of days since we last had our last podcast. So I know that you want to talk a good bit about the channel and what's
Mhm.
happening in the port and all the various ships that are coming in. I think you want to talk about the Dali today. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I've got a couple of report outs from National Maritime Day Commemorations, and there was two that I attended this past week. Um,
Right.
Mike, I know I saw you out there on Pier 13 for the commemoration aboard the NS Savannah.
Yeah, I
Some
was a
great.
little late. I didn't exactly make it to the commemoration, but I did show up.
That's all right. So we'll talk about that, and then
Mhm.
you also had a really cool tour this week also. So I'll let you
Yeah.
hand that over to you. Let you go ahead and start it off.
All right. So just to, let's talk about the podcast for a minute. So last week, 407 views and 37 likes.
Really?
Now, if I could be picky, now let me see if I can get this right. Hit the like button,
Yeah.
and then the subscribe button, I think, is right about here.
Okay.
If I like and subscribe. So it's just kind of how social media works and podcasts, the counts matter. And so, yeah, if you guys could, if we could get the likes, let's see, we had 37. Let's make it 75 this week.
We set our goal. All right.
We're setting a goal. So really excited because after so much work from the Unified Command and Army Corps of Engineers, what they've been aiming for, what we talked about last week, the 400-foot wide channel, 50 feet deep, 24/7, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for ships to come and go. So it's always been restricted to permission only. And then it was, I think, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that. And now just 24/7. So that is awesome.
That's good news. That takes care of the first couple of goals that the Unified Command had.
Yeah.
For first, let's get the victims out and reunite them with their families, and then let's
Absolutely.
get the channel clear. Let's get the dolly out of the way, and so that's they've completed all of that. There is going to still be some cleanup work around the bridge, and so they're going. There is still structure below the water line that they're going to be continuing to cut and clear out and get that infrastructure out of the way. But that's in
Right.
essence the port facilities or the channel is back open. So now all the port entities, the terminals can now accept all of those vessels without any issues. So
Yep. Yep. So, and just a reminder, it's kind of flush right or flush to the north. So it's 400 feet. It's a little bit over halfway, but again, we're not running down the center. We're over here on one side.
skewed off to the north because of the they're still trying. They still have
There's
some.
still a piece of truss that's sticking up, like, I don't know, on the left, on the south edge of the channel. So they're trying to cut that apart
Yeah.
today, and get that out of there.
Yep.
I think that's the next priority. So wanted to talk about something I saw today. I thought was really cool. So 8 ro-ros in port. So roll on, roll off cargo ships, right? So Baltimore, the number one auto importer in the U.S., 13 years running, and so 8 ro-ros in port today. I would say we're well on our way to reclaim our number one auto importer in the U.S. status. So that's pretty exciting to see so much going on in the port
Absolutely.
today. And coal ships are running out at 47-foot draft, which is mandated. So 50. And then we said, or Army Corps of Engineers, Coast Guard said, we want 3 feet off the bottom. Now, previous they would run 2,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So 3 feet. So to have the coal ships running just a foot off of the norm as far as full draft in the water, I think that's pretty cool.
That is, yes.
Um, and maybe you can talk about this. It seems like the big container ships, like we're getting a few in, not a lot, but you can actually go to our website, BaltimoreShipwatchers.com. There is a shipping links tab, and then I think the third one down is container ship schedule. So you can actually
Oh,
kind of
excellent.
track it yourself. It's
Sure.
really cool. You can see what's coming and going, but you can see that. I mean, a schedule that would normally be, pre the bridge accident, 2 and 3 ships a day. It's still quite empty. So I hear that it's going to take maybe another month before some of the bigger container ships come in. Do you want to?
Yeah.
You have any information on that?
And not any direct information,
Right.
but there is some there are some considerations that we should take kind of look at. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those container ships. If you look at who those entities are, who those companies are, and why they have designed the route structures for delivery. So out on the West Coast, you've got container ships that are coming out of the Asian market, China, delivering products to the U.S. and that's oftentimes just a straight shot. They load the ship pretty full of 1 or 2 stops over in the U.S. They come straight across. They offload in Long Beach, Los Angeles, and they go back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not every port of call is going to be just like that, where you have a full ship coming in,
Sure.
to a particular port. So depending on the volume, depending on the products that are being imported or exported, um, it, some of these container ships may be making milk runs where they go and make 4 or 5 ports of call along like the East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
once a week
Sure.
or once every 2 weeks or something like that. Some of them are making very strategic calls to major ports because they're not going to stop at some of the smaller ports because of the sheer size of the ship.
Well,
And
sure.
some
But we
ports
wouldn't get those here anyway.
well, we can get a pretty decent size. We can get up to 12, 14,000 TEUs, but we got some limitations. The big super post Panamax ships that are in the 20,000,
Yeah, we can't.
22, those aren't.
And
But
just for fun,
what were
our
we?
max is 15,432.
There you go. There you go. But there's different reasons for some of the routing, and so
Mm-hmm.
yes, obviously, immediately upon the bridge collapse, those routes had to immediately be changed or adapted or what have you in order to get
Right.
those containers
You think
to
it's is it mean is there contracts involved? Or I
yeah.
mean, obviously trucking. I mean,
Yeah, so yeah, there are a lot of factors. So it's not only contracts with the steamship lines to visit certain ports of call, but it's also at certain time periods or certain frequencies.
hmm,
And then they go out and they sell those contracts or try to get more business to come onto those ships and those ports of call, to go to those various ports of call.
right? Because I was
So
wondering, okay, if you change something, is it kind of like the story that we told from the Army Corps of Engineers last week, where we talked about, okay, you want to come to Baltimore and help out, well, you've got to go find the money. I mean, if they
yeah,
move a ship, do they have to sign a new contract to come into to get a ship into another port, and then would they go, okay, I'm not writing this contract unless it's a month or 2 or I mean, I don't know how it works. I'm guessing.
no, there's a number of different ways, and that is one of the scenarios that they may have written a subcontract or a temporary contract or a certain time period, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to let those play out. So
Yeah.
it's not that the business is being stolen away from us. It's that
Oh,
in certain contractual agreements or certain route
right.
structures, you have to allow that to kind of play out and follow through, and then everybody kind of gets back into that regular routing structure.
Right. But it
And
is
then it's
different how the Ro ships just kind of showed up pretty fast, though. I
yeah,
mean,
well,
I understand it's different, but I guess
but,
I don't understand why it's different.
well, it's
And that's
also
okay.
yeah,
Whatever.
it's also the commodities. It's the
Mm,
a vehicle has a
it's
very different
different.
shelf life than maybe other products that are being imported.
Gotcha.
And so, and it's not like you can go necessarily and have those ro-ros go into another port that doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure in place to be able to handle the business. So
Right.
what actually happens with at the ro-ro terminals is that those vehicles get driven off by the longshoremen and they get parked, and
Right.
then they're processed in some capacity to go out to the dealerships or the final destinations. And
Right.
so out at Dundalk Terminal, there's a vehicle processing center there where they actually go in and will
Right.
do all of the customized upgrades that the dealerships want. Or if you maybe there's a special wheel package or a special
Right.
radio package or mat, floor mats or something. All of that's
Right.
done here at the port. That's what some of the roles are of
So I,
the port operators, is to go and do the last mile setup, and then they load those cars up onto a railroad trailer for a truck,
right.
or they get put onto a rail car and sent
Right.
out further and out to the final destination. So
Right.
it's
So I
not
guess that's I guess
it's
that's a
not
lot more specific, right? I mean,
yes.
if you have, you can theoretically take a container and put it on any train or any truck, right? But if you're an auto processor, an auto importer, you want to get back to your home, where your people are, where your processing center is, probably as fast as you can because
Correct.
things aren't working the way like Georgia set. Was it Brunswick set a monthly record?
Mm-hmm.
One
And it,
because they had expanded their facility so much so they had extra capacity
mm-hmm.
because you driving hundreds or thousands of cars off a ship, you got to park them somewhere. So
Right.
you can't go into a port like you said that's not equipped for that.
And so what they've done also is they were able to handle some more capacity because of those upgrades, but
Right.
also again it goes back to what's happening on the terminal, and it's not just a straight transfer from ship to like a truck for delivery. There is processing that takes place. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a commodity based. The commodity also dictates a lot of that routing, and it could have been that those vessels were already loaded. Maybe they slowed down in their transatlantic shipment, just to meet that expectation that the port would be opening up with pretty soon,
Right.
so that they could just come in here, and that the cost associated with that delay was far less than having to go and reset up a whole nother
Mm.
facility, a whole nother terminal in another port. So
Oh
there's
yeah,
a
that would
lot of
be.
different reasons why that would happen.
Yeah, you got to go where the facilities already are, right? Where they have room for you and capacity,
Sure.
right?
And
Because
and and
all the stuff is planned out weeks and months in advance. You can't just drive another ship in. Hey, we're here. No, doesn't work like that.
correct. Correct.
Do you want to? So you went to a couple interesting things this week. So you went to a couple different Maritime Day
Yeah.
celebrations. Was
So
that the time?
so so on Sunday out at Pier 13 in Canton, we had the Port of Baltimore's National Maritime Commemoration, and it
Right.
was held out there on the deck of the nuclear ship Savannah. They
What kind
spent
of ship?
nuclear ship,
Nuclear.
nuclear. Yeah, somebody called me out for saying nuclear like George Bush this
Nuclear.
week. Yeah. The backstory on this was, I'm from the South. I'm from I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I went to the College of Charleston. When I was in first grade, my first grade teacher, Mrs. Robbins, made a point to tell was trying to work on my dialect growing up and get the word get. I would say git is how I pronounced it. And so there were some teacher conferences with my mom on how to work on pronunciations. Yes, and so
Wow.
yeah, so that's been kind of the family joke there. But I know that there are words that I may pronounce. So we're gonna play a little game on the podcast. Well, I'll give an extra bonus point. I give extra credit points on things in class. So maybe I'll give an extra point that anybody can call me out for the things that I mispronounced. We'll keep a running total of those things. And nuclear, it will be the one that we do. But anyway. uh, No, we were all out on the savannah on Sunday. The weather cooperated. We had a very nice commemoration. A number of different folks from the port got up to speak and talk about the what the meaning of this is. National Maritime Day was created to celebrate or commemorate the first transatlantic crossing.
Right.
So that was the steamship Savannah, the SS Savannah.
Right.
And so you can see the correlation and the importance between the various ships, the methods, the modes, the propulsion means to of ships over time. It was also really important because we also in memorial named off all of the victims of the Key Bridge collapse.
Yeah.
So it's important to recognize them during this time.
Yeah. And then did any of the families know that, or?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure about that. I believe so. I could be wrong, but I think that they were made aware of that. So they were
cool.
So it was a really good event. It was a smaller crowd than what we had in the past. I think the weather may have, even though the weather held off, it was really kind of gloomy. So I think that was maybe some of the reasonings behind that. But we still had a good representation. Both ships, the John Brown and the Savannah, gave tours for the day. The kids had the remote control pond out on the pier, and you could try. Try
these. Huge.
Yeah, that's always pretty neat to see. So it was another good event. I was lucky enough to be invited to the National Maritime Day celebration down at the U.S. Department of Transportation's building in D.C.
And that was actually on the actual Maritime Day.
Yeah, that was on the actual Maritime Day, which is the 22nd.
Okay, so we always do ours on that weekend. That's closest. Right?
Correct. It's usually the Sunday after Preakness is how they kind of gauge the date for our local.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
I made my way down to D.C. It was a very nice, very nice ceremony down in D.C. The the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of Transportation spoke. Was the MC, and Secretary of Navy came to give a talk. Let's see, Senator Kelly came. I thought that was pretty cool because I'd never met an astronaut before. So that was it was cool to listen to him speak, and they were really promoting the not only trying to come to do the maritime commemoration, but supporting seafarers, the seagoing careers and all of the people who were in that industry sector of the maritime industry.
Right.
So it was really neat to be in the atrium of the building and the color guards, the ringing of the bell, the wreath laying. There was they also awarded a gentleman from who was a merchant marine from World War II. He Yeah, he was in his late 90s, and he was there, and he received all of his medals. I don't know. They didn't really explain why he hadn't received his service medals up
Oh
until
my
now,
goodness.
but they had him. They had a nice little video that they created and interviewed him of some of his um, um, tour duty during that
Hmm.
time, and then they had him stand up, and they awarded him the medal. So
Wow.
um, a lot of talk on supporting the maritime industry, maritime employment and credentials, and
Hmm.
representatives from MARAD came and spoke some about that also. So it was a really good, very supportive commemoration. So
Hmm.
I appreciate the the feds, the U.S. level of the Department of Transportation going and promoting all of that. So yeah, want
Very
to make
cool.
sure we shared that. I've got have some pictures I'll post in with the podcast on that.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Um, so geez, we're burying the lead here. But right, what everybody's been interested in for the last 7 weeks, which has been, driving, the live stream viewership like crazy. So
Yes.
let's talk about floating the Dali and getting the Dali moved. So they talked about that when the day they're going to move it. The high tide that day was like 5:40, and it's kind of funny how people think they're like, oh, they're gonna 5:40, so it's just gonna and go
Right.
at 5:40. No, I guess it could have happened, but there's what, four anchors aft. There were a couple lines forward off the bow, so they needed to set up. I think there were five tugs, two
Mm-hmm.
on each side, one center aft. Um, and so I think it took almost an hour. I think they said 6:40 it was floating, but they really didn't get it moving until 7. And you could watch it on camera. They were kind of pulling the stern, kind of wiggling it a little bit, I guess, to try to break it loose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a tug guy. I'm not a salvage guy. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so but, but that's what it looked like they were doing. And then so they pull it out stern first and just kind of backed it all the way over to Seagirt. And they were talking about that. Okay, we're going to take it over to Seagirt and we're going to put it in the deepest area, which is berth 4. So when you're looking at the camera, the berth that's closest, furthest to the right, and they did that. But it was interesting because they took, the cranes all are on a rail system. Um, so the cranes are all on a rail system, and so they can move up and down the berth, if you will, or the dock. And so they moved the cranes out of the way, so the ship had like a clean place to go in, so that I guess they wouldn't have to worry about it hitting the cranes. Um, and then before we knew it, they had moved it down to berth 1. I guess they verified the depth, the draft of the ship, and had and verified the depth of where they wanted to go, and then they moved the dolly down to the shallower end where the least amount of real work happens when the ships are coming in with containers. Most of them go to the deeper end because we're bigger ships. And then they moved the cranes out of the way, and so the Dali is sitting there at the far end of Seagirt with no ship to shore cranes over it. So that was interesting.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. My internet at the house crapped out for a little bit, so we're back. Mike, I appreciate
Uh-huh.
you taking that one on and finishing up with the with the talk there. You've got another opportunity that I think you wanted to chat about. It was pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. So we were able to do a Domino Sugar tour,
Wow.
which is
Okay.
really cool. And now the kicker is we have been able to get in there ever since the raw sugar shed burnt down.
Mm.
Um, for whatever reason, the company hasn't been doing as many tours. And I was talking to one of our members, one of our Shipwatcher group members, and I said, hey, remind me, I gotta see if I can work this out.
Hmm.
And then I emailed the right person. I figured out their email address. They gave me some dates, and we made it happen.
Oh, okay.
So
Good.
pretty cool to be there. You get you go in for in a meeting room. You learn all about the company. Ton of stats, which I don't know that we'll go into. But we got to tour basically the whole factory. You got to see the smaller section of the factory that used to be the raw sugar shed.
Mm.
And I guess they had to return it back into the raw sugar shed. And they took us there and
Okay.
showed us, the giant piles of sugar. But it was in a much smaller area than when you're looking at something the size of a football field, which is how big that raw sugar shed is, or was.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we got to see the beginnings of the new one. These
Oh, cool.
giant,
Okay.
I don't know, 2 foot thick or 3 foot thick by 20 foot high walls, and then they're gonna sort of looks like a circus tent. What they're gonna put on top of it.
Sure.
It's a
Hmm.
metal structure with I don't know what kind of roof. But they're waiting for the permitting, and it's supposed to be all done by the fall and ready to go.
Okay.
So it's really cool to see that.
Good. Good.
You get to go in and see some product lines where the boxes are all folded, and it takes the boxes and comes over here and opens the box and puts the sugar in a bag and lays the bag down and pushes it into the box and stands the box up and glues it and folds it and it goes put in the box. It was neat to see all that stuff just
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
happening. Um, Giant 2,000 pound sacks of sugar.
Hmm.
So all kinds of. I forget how many product lines they have, like 16 different product lines. It's probably more than that, but it was neat to kind of see all that. And then because I had been there before, so it's only 12 people at a time, which is disappointing. But they take you up in the old cargo elevator, which is still being used, but it's basically only room for 12 people. And
Sure.
so we come out on the ninth floor and we go through this door, and it was kind of cool because I'd been there. I said, "Do you guys know where you're going?" You know, because
Yeah.
I knew they were going up to the roof. We're going up to
Sure.
the 10th floor so we can stand under that huge new sign, right? And get our pictures taken, which I
Sure. Yeah.
haven't posted to the group yet, but I will.
Okay. All right.
So really cool, really cool. And then when you're up on the 10th floor, and I don't know, how many people see Domino Sugar from like the harbor, but off to the right, you see these giant, tall white silos off to the side,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I forget what the amount was. They could only hold like 6 million pounds of finished sugar, and then when they ran out of room, like if they were over capacity they just had to start loading it into rail cars. So they
Yeah.
came up with these four giant silos that hold 14 million pounds of processed sugar.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and then they have a way to get it back into the factory when they need it. So
Hmm.
pretty interesting.
Okay.
Pretty interesting. Mm-hmm.
I've taken that tour a couple of times with both students and teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really unique because it's one of the few operations that we have in the port where the manufacturing facility is right on the water, and so you have the ability to have a raw sugar ship or a raw sugar barge come up and discharge raw sugar right there at the factory. It's a little bit different than some of the other supply chain logistics models where you have to have a port terminal or a rail yard or rail terminal to
Right.
transload shipments. But they use
Right. It's
the
coming
reason
directly into the factory. Yeah.
correct, and the reason why the
So
facility is built the way it is it uses gravity in order to go through the manufact the sugar cooking process. And so when you go up to the top of the facility, that's where all the raw sugar starts. And so when the sugar comes off of the ship, puts it into the holding facility that they're rebuilding, they'll pump the sugar up to the top of the building, and then as gravity goes through the cooking process, it goes through the different vats and the cooking systems, and the very top, it's not a very clean environment because of what's happening with the first cooking process. And as you
mm-hmm.
would part the tour I went on, you would go down the different layers and look at the different manufacturing processes. And about the middle part of the building, it smelled like a sweet stewed tomato to me, almost in the air, the aroma. And the further you go down, the more you get into the different finished products. And then the packaging facility down on the first and second floors, they it really smells like, if I could smell, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, that's what it smelled like to me. It's because you have this granulated fine powdered sugar floating in the air, and you almost get that sugar high. But even in the packaging facility, you get the little small packets of sugar for your coffee at the
Right. Right.
local gas
Right.
station. So they were packaging that, and the machine that was spinning so fast, they had to use a
Oh yeah.
timing light to be able to see individual packets and the sugar going in to test it. So it was
That
really
was
cool to
wild.
see. They also
That
had
was
their own
very
rail.
wild.
They have their own rail line, so they can move the sugar out to the class one railroads that they need to, and then they
Yeah.
also have trucking facility. So a lot, very good example of using all modes of transportation. You've got a very unique environment for manufacturing and distribution right here in the city. So
Right. And what one more thing I would like to add. Well, one slight update. So I saw the same thing you saw with the sugar packets flying by a million
okay,
miles an
yeah,
hour. They've got a strobe light there, you know what I
mhm.
mean? So, so you can actually see them flying by a million miles an hour. Um, they don't do sugar packets there anymore. That whole
No,
section was covered in plastic.
oh
And
really?
something about the rates or closer to customers or there was some
Okay.
corporate reason, and so he said that they were doing that in Cleveland now.
Okay.
But I just wanted
There,
to
there,
point
are- there,
out that go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is there's various reasons why that takes place, and it may just be from a cost perspective or a demand
Oh,
perspective.
was
There's a
yeah.
and manufacturers will make those kinds of decisions all the time, and it's not a reflection of the state of the
Oh,
of the business. It's, hey, look, we can actually do something a little bit different and better within a different facility, and so they'll
right.
they'll make those changes periodically.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how he worded it. And I mean, yeah, I don't think it's anything negative on Baltimore because I mean, if you ever go to their website, there's 30 or 40 jobs available
Oh,
all
sure,
the
yeah.
time, right? So they employ what, almost 600 people.
Hmm.
So I don't feel like doing the math. What's that, 5%?
Yeah,
Anyway, so Domino Sugar had been there since 1921, and so between the raw sugar shed burning down and now the Key Bridge, so as a Baltimorean, I find it really cool that, they want to put the money and investment in this place,
Mm-hmm.
even though these things, these hiccups, these roadblocks have happened, right? So basically, as far as I know, you're talking about ships come in, they unload to the full, they fill up this sugar shed that's the size of a football field,
Yep.
okay, and then so they've got some stock to work with, and then when the raw sugar shed burned down, they had to kind of reinvent the way they did it. So I guess they took that part of the factory that used to be the raw sugar area, storage area, repurposed that back to raw sugar, and then they went and leased some barges, some covered barges, and they started putting sugar over on Pier 11 in Canton,
Yeah.
and then putting it on the barge, and then bringing the covered barges back and forth, and then the Key Bridge goes down. And so I didn't realize this, but they're running sugar ships up to Philly, transloading
Mm.
onto a barge, then running the barges down from Philly. So I mean, they're really doing an awful lot to keep
It,
this going here in
yeah.
Baltimore. And, it is the end of the federally maintained channel for shipping, right? And you look at the chart, the part that's dredged or maintained is kind of in a little box on the
Mhm.
chart. We'll have to pop that in one day in one of our podcasts. And you can see,
Absolutely.
there's Domino, and the little box ends right there. And then so,
Mm. Okay.
you might want to dredge for whatever visitor ships or something. But I mean,
Hmm.
the federal government keeping a channel open for commerce ends right there at Domino.
Sure.
So it's kind of cool to see that it's still through all these trials and tribulations that they're still sticking with us, and I think it's cool.
Right. And that's why the port and the state are all focused. That's just one of the many reasons
Yeah,
why they're so focused on trying to
one
get the
example.
business back. Yeah, it means people can get their sugar. It means people can have their jobs that in and around that. So there really is a lot of importance and value in the efforts of trying to get the port back open. Absolutely.
Yep, yep. So I think that's all I got.
Okay.
You got anything
It's
else?
a pretty busy week, huh?
It
Yeah.
was. It was. We keep saying we might try one day to pare this down to 30 minutes. We're not doing a very good job.
We're not. That's all right. We'll keep practicing. Maybe one day we'll get that. It's all good.
Right. So before we go, just a reminder: we're on X, we're on Instagram, and these podcasts are on YouTube. All in the
Yep.
same. It's Balto Ches. So the way you used to write out Baltimore on the envelope. So Balto and Ches for Chesapeake. So Balto Ches. Um, so we also have the website, and now there's a podcast link on the website. There's
I
a
saw that.
swag.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Did you see who liked it?
No,
Sal
I didn't.
Mercagliano liked that post. I was like, okay,
Okay.
I'm cool with
All right.
that. So, we've got a swag tab on the website for some stuff that we have available. So,
Good.
so you can see here's the T-shirt with the logo. We've got some hats with the logo. We've got the coffee cup, which has the trademark logo, and then the really cool
Yeah, they're really cool
Key
one. Yeah.
Bridge logo, and this logo is on the back of every shirt.
Every
So we
shirt.
have
Okay. Good.
regular T-shirts, we have V-neck T-shirts, we have ladies T-shirts, we have
Oh, okay.
sweatshirt.
Okay.
So lots of cool stuff. And then don't forget, 25% of all proceeds goes to Baltimore International Seafarer
National
Center,
Seafarers.
which
That's
are the
right.
people who see to it that the folks that come in on the ships are taken care of. in
So not
a
only do
myriad of ways.
you get really cool swag, but you're also helping out a good cause also. That's right here local.
Absolutely, and it's
In the
totally related to the port and shipping. So,
Okay, good.
yeah,
All right. The closing little screen will have all of the links. So like and
cool.
subscribe. Hit the what did you do? Hit
So
the like
the
button.
like button is here, and I think that the subscribe button is here.
Hopefully that all links up with us pointing our fingers down at the right place.
And if it doesn't, we'll look goofy, and so what? Who cares?
Right. All right, sir.
All right. So what do we say? Happy ship watching.
Happy ship watching. All right, everybody take it easy. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks.